Good morning, everyone. As I come on this morning, I started to get up last night and come on, but uh, I made it through the night just thinking about this with this on my mind and on my heart to share with you. And I was thinking about the promises of God. You know how He make us so many promises. And I was looking at a book that I have on the promises of God, and it's got a promise for 365 days. But the thing of it is that the things that God promises us is for a purpose. And that's something that we can hang on to, not just in our strongest moments, but also in our weakest moments. And I just want to take some time out with you on this morning to just tell you just to hold on to the promises of God. And one of the things that was brought to my mind was Jeremiah. And I was thinking about, we're getting around the holidays. And people get real emotional around the holidays. And because things happen around the holidays, and this year is going to be a little different because we have this pandemic, and they trying to warn everyone from gathering. So it's going to be a little different this year for everyone who's going to follow those CDC guidelines. But God is still in the midst of our lives, of what we do, and what happens in our lives. And he's such a faithful, and he's just such a just God. And I'm not coming on this morning trying to take you to church or nothing like that. I'm just on sharing again what was laid on my heart about to utilize for words of inspiration and encouragement. And one of those things is promises. He wants to remind us that he made us promises, for our lives. And I thought about Jeremiah, where in Jeremiah it says, I have plans for you, plans to prosper you. That's something that I know I hang on to, and I wanted to share with you. God do want to prosper us. He has plans to prosper us. And we just have to hold on to his unchanging hand. Because what happens when we walk away from the promises of God, we begin to lean on the promises of man. And that is not good for us. Because one thing that we have all lived long enough to know is that man will let you down. God will never let you down. And so that's why he's always reminding us, not just in Jeremiah. You can go into other books in the Bible, where he even promised us. Listen, he promised us the different seasons in our lives over there in Ecclesiastes. So we can't be so shocked that we say, well, why is this like this? Well, because we were promised that we would have different seasons in our lives. He promised that. He promised that there's going to be a time to laugh and there's going to be a time to cry. There's going to be a time to plant and there's going to be a time to pluck up. He promised us those things. But he also promised us that there's going to be trials and there's going to be tribulations. But the beauty of it all, he says that, I'm not going to leave you, nor will I forsake you. We sing that song talking about what a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, what needless pain we bear. Hey, it's so true. I tell you, I believe right now, there's some things in our life, and I talked about on Tuesday about pain. There's some things in our lives, even right now, some pain that we're trying to get through, we're trying to deal with. But the way that we deal with it is we stand on the promises. Let me tell you, when you stand on the promises, it don't mean, it's just like, when it say that trouble may endure it for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. It's the same thing as standing on promises, because joy, it will come in the morning, and trouble will endure it for a night. The only difference is between my troubles and your troubles, we don't know how long our trouble's gonna be. We can look at our watches, and none of our watches have the same time, but we got to watch. But here's the thing, in the midst of it all, when we stand on the promises, we got to trust in the promise. We have to trust in the promise. Because if you don't trust doing the promise, then you, in standing on the promise, you begin to reject. You begin to reject the promises. And you stop trusting the promiser and start looking at mankind. And when you start looking at mankind, and your rejection grows away from the promise. Because each and every one of us needs something that we can stand on and stand for. And if we're going to stand, we need to stand for the right thing in the right way. See, when you have trust in the promises, you find joy, you find comfort, you find reason, you find reliability. You find those things that help you to grow because you are watering the promise. But when you get away from the promise, listen to me closely, you start finding these negative things. Because you start, again, like I once said, you stop trusting the promiser and the provider, and you start looking at man for the things that's already been promised to you. So now you start being faced with rejection, with doubt, with worry, with frustration, with negativity, because you start looking for your answers in man, but you forget mankind. And sometimes people do things unconsciously. Sometimes people may really want to meet your need, but they can't because financially they might not have it. Even with time, I was telling y'all months ago about the most precious gift, the most valuable gift that we have is time. And the reason why is because once you give away your time, you can't get that back. Whatever time you gave to somebody, you can't get that back. Whatever time you invested in something, you can't get that back. That's why it's so precious. That's the number one thing in life. I know a lot of us say the number one gift is love. But you got to have time for that. You have to have time to show your loved ones that you love them. All of that takes time. And in time, guess what? You find a purpose to share the things in your life with others through the promises that you rely on. See, we have to learn how to stand on the promise. That's all. See, that's you hear, I know years ago my parents used to say, your word is your bond. Your word is your bond. Your word should be solid. If you say you're going to do something, you should try your best to do that. Don't just tell people you're going to do something, but you have no intentions of trying to meet that goal. If I say I'm going to do something, if I tell someone I'm going to do something, I'm going to do and use everything within me to try to get it done. Because once you tell somebody you're going to do something, they're dependent on you to do that. And that's when we have to rise to the occasion. We have to just trusting in what we do in the promiser. You know, because all of us get weak. But when I talk about the promises, And I believe that's why that was laid on my heart. The promises is to remind all of us through the trials and tribulations in our lives, don't sit down, don't give up, keep standing on the promise. And yes, it gets hard. There are many today dealing with financial problems because of this pandemic. People have lost their jobs. People have lost loved ones. I believe yesterday we over 250,000 plus deaths due to this pandemic. We got 11 million plus who are ill from the COVID. And you think that don't bear on the lives of people? And I tell you, it will make you want to throw in the towel, but you can't. You have to keep standing on the promise. And that is for all of us. We got to stand on the promises. That's what's going to get us through. No, nobody is Superman or Superwoman. We all trying to get through. We got to lean on one another, to a certain extent. Children are dependent on us. These little kids can't take care of themselves. We put them in school. Now they're pulling them out of school in various places. So there are many who aren't getting the teaching that they need to receive because they might be in a home where someone just not able to do that because mom and dad have to work. It's a lot of things going on right now in every household across this nation, but we got to stand on the promises of God. That's what we got to do. That's all we've got. Because, you can want to help your loved ones. You just don't have the resources to do it. But we all can do something. Every last one of us can do something. Even if it's nothing but giving an encouraging word to somebody and telling them to hold on a little while longer. Don't give up. You got communication skills. Even that, you can lend that to somebody. Maybe you have some professional skills and somebody needs some help filling out paperwork, I don't know, just whatever somebody needs. You might have that very resource that you obtain, that you can help somebody else to hold on a little while longer. I just kept thinking about the promises, his promises. It would not leave my mind to know that I am not alone. I can stand on his promise. Not because somebody else said it, but because he said it. And it makes you reflect on life. When you think about the promises, you start reflecting on life. And you start finding your purpose in life. When you start standing on his promises. I love the fact of standing on the promises of God. I really do. Because it helps me to be who I am. To stand solid and firm on what I believe and who I trust in. And I want you to get the same thing and have that same feeling. Because no, we are not perfect. But because he is, and I shared this the other day, because he is, I am. You are because he is. And I know we all have different beliefs and nobody have a right to put nobody else down due to what they believe in. I just know what I believe in. And so what if somebody don't see it like I see it? It's okay. We all just trying to live. And we can't be so critical all the time because we push people away instead of giving them words to encourage them to just hold on a little while longer. Hold on. Help is on the way. I know you feel like help is not on the way, but help is on the way. You know what? The roughest part of the storm is the tail end. Yeah, that's the roughest part of the storm is the tail end. Because once you get through that, everything calms down. So a lot of us are right there on the brink of our blessings. So we got to hold on. It seems like everything is happening. Everything is breaking down. Some things you just don't understand why. But you know what? The promiser understands why. And this is why he tells us, just like he told Jeremiah, wait a minute. Put your name in there instead of Jeremiah. Put your name in there. I would say, if God was speaking to me, he would be saying, Electra, I have plans for you. I have plans to prosper you. Put your name in there. Because just like he wants to prosper me, he wants to prosper you. He got plans for you. So don't throw in the towel. It might be something that you are doing, but you have to find another way of doing it. You might be already doing that thing, but do that next thing that makes it grow even more. It's nothing wrong with stepping out on faith. You know, there comes a time in our life, if we look back on our life, there has been a time in our life when we didn't know how we was going to pay our next bill, when we didn't know how we was going to pay for the next meal. We had more month than we had money. But still, when you look back on it, the provider came through. And so very often, that's why we're afraid to lose or let go of things. Because we forget about the promises of our provider. He said, I'll never leave you, nor will I forsake you. He said that. He said that you are above, not beneath. He said that. He said that you are the head, not the tail. Your provider said that. He said you are more than a conqueror. Your provider said that. And because he said it, we ought to believe it and trust it and stand on it. Because that's his promise to us. That we are more than the world is against us. Because we are. We are anything that we want and everything that we want to be. All we got to do is take the I am. And remember, I am anything that I want to be if I just trust in my provider. I am a conqueror. Tell yourself that. I am an overcomer. Tell yourself that. I am a friend to the friendless. I am the best person that I can be. I am that. It's so many things, I can't say it enough, behind I am. And you can say it because he is. And he gave you the power to say that and to speak that into your life. And to know that you are so many things and you are so much more than what people tell you are. Because people set destinations on your life and in your life. And they say that this is all you are and nothing else. And why would you listen to that? Because you forgot about the promiser, the provider. You don't allow nobody to put to put a destination on your life, to define who you are and all that you're going to be. That's nobody else's right to do that. Grab a hold of your own keys to your own life and stop allowing everybody to come in and define who you are. You're a child of God. If he your father, he don't deal with insufficient funds. Everything you need, he got it. So that's why we have to stand on the promises. Because, here comes another promise. When he tells us that we have not because we ask not. And then when we ask in a midst. See, when we go to him and we ask him for things in a midst, in other words, we ask him for it, but in a midst we act like we're not gonna get it. We act like he's not gonna provide it for us when he will. That sickness you dealing with, he already told you he gonna heal you. He gonna heal you. He gonna raise you up. He gonna exalt you even over your enemies. You know what tells me that? Psalms 27 say, even when my enemies and my foes came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. You didn't do that. That was the protection, the promise of protection over you that kept your enemies from destroying you. Some of you out there have a business. And there are people who are happy about you having a business, but you also have some people who are not, who are behind the scenes trying to destroy it. You got to deal with that and face that. Everybody don't love you because of what you're doing. Everybody don't love what you're doing. Everybody don't enjoy your journey. And everybody don't belong on your journey. But one thing about it, he promised you that he had plans for you to prosper you. So go right back to what I said. Stand on the promises from the promiser. You won't worry about the rejection from man, because he is your provider. Because he tells us through another promise that when somebody shut one door, he'll open another door. So guess what? He opened doors that no man can shut. That's a promise. But he shut doors that no man can open. And that's a promise. And all of this works together. Every bit of what I'm talking about this morning on the promises of God, they work together for what? For our good. And then in the promise, he warns us. Over in Psalms, he's giving us warnings. See, when he say he's going to take care of you, he gives you instructions as well. Look at Psalms 1:1. What it tells you. Counsel not with the ungodly, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but meditate on his word day and night. Guess what? He's showing his face, and this is how you get to my promises. You be obedient to me. I already told you I got plans for you. I already told you I wanted to prosper you. But I'm also telling you the way that you're going to get through your promises that come from me is to be obedient to me, to not counsel with the ungodly. There's a reason for that. When you counsel with the ungodly, come on, let's all be honest. When you counsel with the ungodly, you know what you start doing? You start listening more to the negative that they are giving to you, that they are feeding you. That's one thing about being around negativity that people don't realize. Negativity will eat you alive. I myself, I'm a loner when I want to be. And when I want to mingle in, I go to places where I can mingle in with some people. But I know how also to step back into my space. Because one thing I don't like is negativity. I believe we all can say that. Because if you've lived long enough, you know that negativity will eat you alive. It will eat you alive every time. It will destroy you. It will make you forget about your dreams and your promises. That's what negativity do. If somebody always bringing negative vibes into your life, you might want to check that relationship, because you're going to start forgetting about the promises of God and start looking at what they're saying and what they're doing. And then you'll start operating according to what they say. Get away from all that negativity. It's okay to be a loner. It is. You don't need a bunch of people around you all the time. Because you know what happens? They begin to cloud your thoughts and you get away from who you are. Because I am telling you, if I had never experienced it, I wouldn't be telling you this. Negative people will soak you up like a sponge. And you start wondering, how did I get over there? You know why? Because you sitting at the table and taking advice from people who don't really have any direction or purpose in life. They just live on a whim. See, some people live, and then some people, it just existing. And when a person is just existing, it always shows up, because all they have every time you see them is a plate full of negativity. You yourself have to make a choice to get away from that. It's good to be kind, but you got to be kind and keep moving in it. Because I know for a fact, negative people will change your life. They'll have you doubting who you are. They'll have you doubting the fact of things that you have been solid in. And they take it and pick it apart. But see, that's why he's telling us to counsel not with the ungodly. And what he basically is saying, people that's not trusting in me. And you don't have to go around with a sign on your head and say, I'm a Christian. You don't have to do that. I'm a person who trusts God. And, sometimes we so heavenly bound, we ain't no earthly good. Because we model ourselves so perfect, people scared of us. That goes for all of us. You got to meet people where they are. And once you meet a person where they are, they will learn to either accept or reject you. Because guess what? Some people, I don't care how much you try to get them out the gutter. If you don't watch yourself, they'll pull you right down with them. So that's why you got to know how to distinguish the difference between the two. You talking about your gifts and your talents and the promises that he made to you and how you're standing on that. And they're telling you about the goodness and the greatness of everybody else that's doing the same thing that you're doing, but they never mention how they find it a pleasure to be in your presence, to share your gift, to enjoy your gift. You need to be careful with that. You need to be careful because I'm going to tell you something. When people are not standing on the promises, that's another thing. They make you reject yourself. See, they not only rejecting the promise of the provider, they are going to have you doing the same thing if you stay around them long enough. See, some things, I just move myself away from it. I don't want no parts of it. And it's not just me. That's all of us. We find a way to move ourselves out the way of those who are bringing nothing but negativity in our lives. And that's a good thing. Because remember when I was talking about pain the other day, and I was talking about being persistent, and I was talking about assessment, and then I was talking about involvement, and that N stood for new beginnings. See, that's how you get there, through your promises, standing on your promises. That's another way of getting through your pain. You stand on those promises. Because there comes a time in our life where our strength alone, we can't make it. We got to have his strength. We got to have his strength. There are times when you feel like you can't endure some things. He got to give you that endurance. It has to come from him. There are times when you feel like, you know what? I just, all I do is cry. It's like I can't never keep a smile on my face because I keep thinking about all the things that I've been through. And you know what? He'll come along and he'll show you one of his promises, not something from somebody else, his promises. And you will find joy in that. You'll start finding joy instead of sadness. But see, the way that you get there in the vehicle of life is to not allow somebody else to drive your brain and take you where they want to take you. Stand on your promises. Know who you are. Be silent in it. I'm telling you, be silent in it. Because what they call it, Debbie Damper, that's all she got is a bad story. She carries a great cloud with her all the time. That's what she do. Why are you sitting down breaking bread with people when you know good and well by the time you leave there, they gonna be done broke your spirit? Because that's what they do. And if you stay there long enough and soak and bathe in that negativity, sooner or later you're going to start acting like that. Get away from it. And you have to reject it. You got to get back to the promise. Because as I said earlier, once you walk away from the promise, you are setting yourself up for rejection. And being around people, especially negative people, and you trying to counsel with them, that's all you're going to find yourself doing is talking about negative things. And your life becomes full of rain, full of what comes along with a storm. All the thunder, all the lightning. Seem like that gray cloud just lives over your head all the time. You know why? Because you sit there and you bathe in the words of a negative person. And sometimes they can come across just so cunning. You really think they on that team with you. You really think that. You believe that until you step back and say, wait a minute. I'm counseling with the wrong one. And they everywhere. Debbie Damper, she everywhere. She's sitting and waiting for the next person. Life that she can interject herself into. You got to be careful with that. See, when I see a lot of women today that's really coming out and speaking. And when I tell you, I am so proud. I'm just overjoyed to see so many women now who are coming out and just sharing their story. And I said for too long, and I'll continue to say this, for too long. We keep talking about his story. I am so proud that now we are talking about her story. Her story. That includes me too. Her story. All of us got a story. We done been through some stuff. We done made it through some stuff. We done stood on some promises. We done had to walk away from some people. And some people walked away from us because we just wasn't what they wanted to be around anymore. But you know what? I'm going to go on and say this. He wrote it in the script. He wrote it in the script that these people, I'm about to move them out your way. See, because I told y'all months ago, God don't do run-on sentences. He don't do that. Every sentence, every paragraph in your life have been constructed. And you know what? He puts in it what he wants to, and he takes out of it what he wants to. And we better start standing and believing and trusting in him that we can get to the point, to the things that we believe and what we trust and what we are doing in our life. I tell you, I'm just overjoyed. I'm just exalted. I mean, I'm excited about what I'm seeing, women of all ages coming out, telling their story. And sometimes things are a little bitter, but that's okay. You keep going with it. Because some people don't want to hear what you say. And some people don't want you to say some stuff. But we all got a story. And you know what? We got to tell it. See, let me tell you something. I have one of my sisters that, my biological sister, she lost her hearing. And so we text. That's how I communicate with her. So we were texting on yesterday, and she was just sharing with me of how even with her having hearing for many years, and then all of a sudden she loses her hearing. And the thing of it is, she found joy in that moment. At first, it was frustrating because she couldn't understand why and how this hearing was taken from her, but she looked back and her trust and in her faith that he done it for a reason. Because sometimes God blocked our hearing. Listen to me closely. He blocked our hearing because there's some things that he don't want us to hear. There's some chatter that some people are trying to put in our ears and trying to make us disbelieve some things that we know to be true. You understand what I'm saying? We might still have our hearing, and we got a lot of chatter in our ears, and we got some people who are trying to tell us, don't you do that. Why are you doing that? That don't even make no sense. Come on, y'all know what I'm talking about. But God say, tell it. That's why I gave it to you. So when my sister and I was sharing yesterday, and we was texting back and forward yesterday, come on, y'all, we got some stories we telling to each other, some stories we went through in life. We didn't get here just cleaned up. We got here because we had some bruises along the way, but we caught a hold to God, and that's how we made it. And everybody might not know your story, and everybody might not accept your story, but guess what? That's your story. And sometimes, just like yesterday, my sister was texting me, and she was telling me that I'm over here, and I'm crying because you sending me stuff that I can't hear you saying, but through your words, you encouraging me because you telling me that you understand me. You are not criticizing me. And I thank you because people don't know our story. That's what makes me excited to see women telling their stories. And when other women stand back and try to criticize you, let it go. Let it go. Because just because you got a story and you don't want to tell your story to somebody, you know what? Everybody got a book in them. Everybody got a book in them. From childhood up. Everybody got, if you want to be honest about it, come on. If we want to be honest about it, everybody got a book in them. Tell your story. Tell your story. You know why? Because when you look back in history, most of the times, the people that they admire, or men. But when you go through research, you start finding a lot of women done things, but it was hidden. So I'm going to say to you this morning, keep telling your story, because your story is touching my life. Your story is giving me the energy to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep looking at different projects in my life, to put energy back in my life. Your story is injecting into me. Keep telling your stories. Don't you sit down. I don't care how many people reject you. Because God said, not me. God said, I got plans for you. I got plans for you, Gail. I got plans for you, Yvette. I got plans for you, Lakeisha. I got plans for you. I got plans for you, Electra. And my plans are to prosper you. They are to prosper you. It don't matter who get upset. They're going to get upset anyway. They're going to get upset anyway. They already mad at you. They just put, you know how we got to wear these masks now? You know, because of the pandemic, they masking up every day and acting like they like you. They putting on masks. Some people in your face, some people in your family, masking up, acting like they like you. And behind those masks, they saying things about you. They criticizing you. They doubting you. You have to take it from me. We just went through an election. And everybody keeps saying, how could 72 million people follow this? And how could 72 million people trust a man that have 545 children in cages and they don't know where their parents at? And how could a man see that people are dying and won't get in here and help out with, all this stuff that people are saying? How could people follow that? I tell you how people follow that. Because I don't care if they are calling themselves, come on, I've got to say this because it's on my heart. They calling themselves Christians, but they masking. They masking. And some of them been sitting around you and me. I just shared that with somebody yesterday that works with me. She said, I just can't understand that. I said, look, I'm going to put this to you. Let me put this to you. And you will never ask this question no more. The diagnosis is reality. That's the diagnosis. Okay? Because those people are standing on the promises of man. They not standing on the promises of God. They going by what man say. They going by how that person make them feel. And they forgot about all the things that God promised them. So you running after dreams because that's all that is. See, a rich man don't know nothing about a poor man. He really don't even care. Them rich people don't know nothing about how it feels not to be able in this day and time to have a meal on the table when they can go out there and order and eat anything that they want to. How you gonna give me some advice? It's the same thing. Let's bring it closer. It's the same thing about people that we question today. How did they do this? And how did they do it? Because they was masking. They was masking before we had to wear masks. And now that women are getting out here telling their stories, is some people mad at you? Is some people mad? Is some people angry now? Is some people that, I dare her. I dare her. You better go on and listen to me this morning, whether you want to or not. Because all I'm doing is prayerfully giving you words of inspiration and encouragement to step back, take a look at it, and see, hey, this is really happening with me. Because you got a story. And let me tell you something. It's a lot of people trying to keep you from telling your story, but you tell it anyway. Because just like my sister told me through a text, that's how we have to communicate. through a text. She's telling me about pains in her life. And I'm the baby out of 13. I'm the baby. So it's a lot of stuff that happened that I don't even know about, didn't even know about. But guess what? You ain't got no business getting upset with somebody else because of their story. Write your own story. If you don't want to write it, talk about it. For years, I was a motivational speaker. And I did a lot of it. And let me tell you something. There was times and points where people would laugh. And then there was times where I would look out into the audience and people would be crying. I remember this one time I went and I spoke it was a group of young people who had been in trouble. And so they were required to attend this program that they had. And it was over in Galveston. And they had them on this ship. They used to call it Todd Shipyard years ago. Many men used to work out there. But look here, I'm on this ship and I'm talking. And one thing about being a public speaker, your voice exalts a lot of times. And people think you're yelling, but you're really not. That's just the magnification in your voice, because you're trying to reach a large audience of people. So as I'm talking and I'm going through and I get excited, because in motivational speaking, you trying to move the people. Okay. So guess what? I'm talking and this young man jumps up and he just, they trying to retain him. He wasn't coming after me. He just was listening to what I was saying, and he started hollering. He said, "That's me. That's me. That's what I was going through." And people wasn't even listening to me. And this was happening to my little sister, and I was trying to be the provider to make sure that we had. And my mom was on drugs, and he was just screaming it out. That's his story. That's his story. See, sometimes you talking to people and you don't know that sometimes what people talking about, they really not talking about. Sometimes what people telling you, they concealed it so long that something that you are saying as a motivational speaker, it just breaks their silence. Something that you put in your book, Yvette, is breaking silence. Something that Gail, that you are writing in your messages on Facebook is breaking silence. Some song, Lakeisha, that you are singing is breaking silence. It's a lot of things that you are doing is breaking silence. And you need to keep doing it, because God is breaking through some things because of you. Don't stop. Stand on his promises. If you don't get nothing else this morning, remember, put your name where Jeremiah's name is. Electra. I got plans for you. I got plans to prosper you. Put your name there and stand on that promise. It's so much more. It's so much more that he wants to do with your lives. It's so much more. I can't say it enough. It is so much more that if he hadn't laid it on my heart, I wouldn't be telling it to you. He says so much more. So don't get weary with well doing. Don't get weary. Every now and then, you might have to take a break. Every now and then, you might have to step back. Every now and then, you might have to say, I'm going to take another angle. My grandson, he just made 17. And y'all have heard me say this before. He made T-shirts. He does T-shirts. And I was talking to him the other day. He stopped by before he had to go back to the school for practice. And he was talking about his business and how right now he's not selling as many shirts. But we as adults know that any business, it has its peak moments, and then it has those moments that, you're not bringing in a lot of revenue. But here's the thing that I liked about what he said. He said, oh, grandma, I'm looking at doing some more stuff. See, why do I share that this morning? Because that's how we got to be. That's how we have to be. See, we can't let people sit us down. We got to start looking at some more stuff. We got to start doing some different stuff. And then, look here, when you doing that stuff, I tell my daughter this all the time, and I'm going to share it with you too. See, you got to work in silence. I shared that with my sister yesterday. You got to do some things in silence. See, you can't let everybody knowing what you doing until it's done. And so when they say, well, why you didn't tell me? The reason why I didn't tell you, because I know you was going to act like you acting right now. Like you didn't really, like you shocked. So if I had told you, God already knew you was going to try to block me, so he let me know. Don't you tell nobody. You ever say that to yourself? I ain't going to tell nobody. You don't tell nobody until it's done. Because sometimes God's saying, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. And when they look up, it's done. You don't owe nobody nothing but yourself. You have robbed yourself long enough. Let me say that again, because I think we missed that. You have robbed yourself long enough. You know how you done it? You stopped doing the things that you know that you knew you had the capabilities of doing, because you started listening to the chatter and what everybody else was saying, and you got away from your hopes and dreams. And then guess what? Here I come, y'all. God, he ended that paragraph, right? He wrote that in the script. Return back to sender. In other words, you are the sender. He sent you a message. You got around the wrong people. You pushed away from his message. You start following after wrong people. And so God said, no. Return unto sender. In other words, send that message back that they not finished yet. I got some more stuff for them to do. As even with my grandson, God said, return unto sender. I got some more stuff. I know your t-shirt business not doing like as well as you wanted to be doing, but guess what? I got some more stuff for you to do. I've already laid it on your heart. So guess what? Even with my daughter, with her business, I find myself having to inspire her and encourage her sometimes, because guess what? She got a story too. We all got a story. Her story. Her story. With her business, what she does. Peace Palace, that's her business. Juicing, that's her business. My little granddaughter, she do the lip gloss. That's her little business. You understand what I'm saying? My next door neighbor, her little girl, her and my granddaughter same age, and she do those shirts. I forget when you make them with the different colors in them. I don't really know what they call it, but very nice product. I bought a shirt from her the other day. See, we got to support people as well. We can't just talk about it. We got to be about it. Support people in what they're doing. And you don't have to get out there and flow show and nothing. One of my classmates wrote a book, Robert Murray. He used to play in school. He played football, and he wrote a book. But when he was talking in his presentation, he was saying how you don't have to, as an athlete, boast about yourself. Because he's talking to young men about football. You don't have to boast about yourself. You let the people boast about you. Because once you start boasting about yourself, people don't see you the same way. I'm saying to you this morning, you don't have to boast about yourself. You just keep doing what you're doing. People are boasting about you. People talk about how good your book is. People talk about how your book touched their life. People talk about how good your messages on Facebook impact them. People talk about that. You don't have to boast up out there. God got you because he the one told you he was going to prosper you. And that's part of his plan. Keep on walking in the promises and you're going to be all right. You will be all right. Y'all know I was up last night. I wanted to get on. I wanted to get online last night, but you know, sometimes God say, hold your mule, hold your mule. But I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that that's what he laid on my heart to share this morning. Because you know what? We all need it. He knows what I need. So when I come out to share words of inspiration and encouragement, I can give you what he gave me. And you know what? Because of that, we're going to be all right. Because of his promises, we are going to be all right. We're going to do that next thing. We're going to tell that next story. And we're not going to be embarrassed about it. And guess what? Y'all know what I'm about to say. How somebody else feel about you ain't none of your business. Let me say that again, because I don't want you to forget that. How somebody else feels about you ain't none of your business. None of your business. They gonna feel that way anyway. They been feeling that way. They just showing it. They just taking that mask out. That's all they do. You got to learn how to laugh at some stuff. You got to learn how to laugh at some people. What they say? How you like me now? How you like me now? See them things you used to say about me? How you like me now? Oh, I was that little girl that didn't have much. Because you talked about me because I didn't have much. How you like me now? Y'all know what I'm talking about. And you're not because you done anything special. It's because how God rose you up and he took your pain. Listen to me closely. He took your pain and turned it into a huge investment through his promises. You walking in your plan, his plan for you. And what I told you, his plan is to prosper you. Walk in your prosperity. Keep walking, girl. Keep walking. That's what I be saying when I see stuff that women are doing. I say, keep walking, girl. Keep walking. Put your head up. Keep your head Don't bend. They're going to ride you back. Stand up straight. Hold your head up. Keep walking. I feel good about it. I feel good this morning talking about it. I sure do. But keep standing on them promises. Keep looking for more and more promises. And the more you focus on his promises in your life, guess what? You're going to be all right. Because you're worthy. And before I go off, y'all know I like to say this. What I always say. How somebody else feel about you ain't none of your business. All right. Y'all have a wonderful day. I see you all on tomorrow. We're going to end the week together on a happy note. All right. Bye-bye. Love you guys.